Hi, I'm Christy Paxton Wade. I am one of your authors of Revolutionary Icons, and I'm excited that you're here for the summit or whatever brought you to this room. If you're reaching this masterclass for the book summit or if you are coming to it later, I welcome you. However you arrived here, let me tell you, you're in the right place. Maybe you finished this chapter that I wrote, Sovereign Descent. If you just closed the chapter and felt something that was named in this chapter, an experience that you've lived, but maybe you didn't have words for, or maybe you're here because you're holding a signals reading. If you've completed the reading, you may have read it once or twice and felt a sense of recognition in it, thinking, that's definitely me, and then wondered, what's the next step? How do I actually use this? What am I supposed to do with it? So whether you've come from Sovereign Descent in the chapter or you've completed a signals reading, either way, what I want you to know at the start is that the descent you read about in the chapter, it doesn't end when the chapter ends. It's not a story about someone else. It's terrain. It's a literal field that you're standing in right now. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to teach you how to use your reading. Not just recognize yourself in it, but actually navigate in it. And if you don't have a reading yet, stay with me anyway. You'll get your chance, and I'll teach you this method on a single example so that you can leave being able to do it on your own. So let's get started with the most common thing that happens, because you may recognize this in yourself. If you have your signals reading, you've gotten your reading, you read it through, you feel that click of recognition. Yeah, that's totally me. That's exactly how it feels. And then more often than not, you put it down, maybe you read it again, but there's not really much that you do with it. Not because you don't care about how it made you feel or what it said, but because no one ever showed you what to do next. And the real value of this reading is in what you do with it. So here's the distinction that I want to keep in mind for the whole class, that when you recognize yourself in a reading, it's like looking in a mirror. This could apply to an astrology reading, human design, gene keys, and the signals reading as well, which is inclusive of a lot of those threads, but also uses your own language. So consider that this is a reading that is a mirror into you. It's real. It can move you, but it itself doesn't take you anywhere. Working your reading is like reading a map. And a map really only matters if you intend to move and when you use it to move somewhere. So by the time we're done today, you will know how to turn that recognition that you felt into actual navigation. You will know where you are, and you will know which direction the next step is. Some things that you might want to have on hand are a journal and a pen, because there will be some concrete action steps and things to contemplate, questions to ask yourself that you'll want to take out of this class today. If you have the signals reading, you might want your copy of that, so you can hit pause and take time to print that off if you don't already have it. And you can also download the Working with Your Reading worksheet, and that should be linked in my website or your summit materials. So let's talk about what you're actually holding if you have a signals reading. If you have not taken the reading and you'd like to go to the website, christypaxtonwade.com/signals, you can take that reading. There's also a free version of the reading that's shorter and gives you a glimpse of how it tells you where your signals are, what field you're in, and what register you communicate in and receive in. And so these may be new terms, but we're going to explain these as we go along, and you'll be fine. But if you have the reading in hand, you will be able to look at it and see that it's built from 3 things that are woven together. You answered 52 statements in the $44 version because this is an in-depth reading. And these statements mirrored your life and your inner experience, and then your reading comes from those answers as well as your astrological birth chart and your gene keys. All of that gets translated into a picture of where you are, what terrain you're walking right now. What you receive is 3 written sections at depth, and these create a map of your strongest frequencies. Your frequencies are the patterns that are loudest in you at the moment that you are taking this reading. It's a contemplation to sit with, and at the end is a journal prompt. So it arrives in your inbox and it's yours to keep. You can return to it over and over. And the very first thing it does is that it names a field that you're walking. So that word field is where almost everyone takes a wrong turn or stops because they're not sure what that means. So that's exactly where we're going to start. So this master class is organized today in 4 movements, kind of like a symphony. And I grew up as a classical violinist and have had a career as a musician for over 35 years. The symphony is a pretty adept analogy. So our first movement is where we're going to begin. We're going to begin with the first thing that your reading is handing you. It's the field that you're walking. So I just want you to hold 2 questions as we go along. You might want to jot these down. The first question is simply, where am I in the terrain? So you have a field if you have your reading, but if you don't have the reading yet, you can still hold that question. Where am I in this particular area of life or experience or consciousness that I'm crossing right now? And the second question matters even more, and that is this. What is this terrain or this field asking of me? And those 2 questions are the whole body of this first movement. Here's the single most important move that I can teach you today. Once you have it, it works on any field, the one that your reading is naming or the one that you draw a year from now, because this reading will change as you go through your life and cross these terrains. Read your field as a question, not a label. Think about that with any reading or chart that you've ever completed. Read the field as a question, not a label. Now, the reason people get stuck right here is simple, because the names of the fields are nouns. The shadow, the mirror. And a noun isn't a question, so it's easy to freeze right here. So let me give you the move in 3 steps, and you'll be able to find the question that comes from your field. So the first step is to read what the field actually does. For a second, set the name aside and ask, what is this terrain really about? The second step, find the verb. Every field asks for an action. It can be that it's asking to receive, to cross something, to set something down, to make something, or to witness. And the third step, turn that verb toward yourself in the present. What is this asking me to do right now? So I'm going to do this live with the field of the shadow, since that's the one that our chapter Sovereign Descent has walked. So first of all, set aside the spooky name or the darkness, and let's find what the shadow actually is. The shadow is your unlived self. The shadow is the parts of you that were true, but they never got to come into the light. And underneath all of those true parts of you are the patterns that you inherited through your lineage. Those patterns have waited for someone who is finally equipped to complete them. And that's the meaning of this field, the shadow. Now, the verb, what does it ask you to do? What does the shadow ask you to do? It asks you to put something down, to stop carrying what was never yours. And when you turn that toward yourself in the present, it becomes a question that you can actually live with and work with. So here's the question, built straight from those 3 steps. What am I carrying that was never mine? And am I the one who finally gets to set it down? Say that to yourself. Let it sit. Don't rush past it. And here's how you begin to tell what's genuinely yours from what you've been carrying for someone else. The borrowed thing has the texture of fact. You might recognize this terrain from the chapter Sovereign Descent, the borrowed identity. It doesn't feel like a belief you're holding. It feels like just the way the world is. That I'm too much, or that wanting more is dangerous, or the one that I carried. It's my job to hold everyone together. None of those things announce themselves as inherited. They just feel like gravity. They feel like weight. The work of the shadow is learning to feel the difference between what's actually gravity and what's just very old inheritance. Now, this is the important part. You can do this exactly this way for your own field. Whatever you're reading named, you do the same 3 steps. What does the field actually do? What's its verb? And what is it asking of you right now? As you work with me, I can help you getting a question started for every field, for every room inside the fields, so that you have models to work from. And you'll have lots more resources if you explore my website, including this map, this architecture that helps you understand the terrain you're in. But the real goal is that soon you won't need a list of questions at all, because you'll know how to form the question yourself. So be sure you take time, if you need to pause the video again, to form the question. If you have your reading, assign the question to the field that your reading identifies. And if you don't have the reading, think about an area of your life that this can apply and form a question. What is the terrain that you're crossing in life asking you right now? Let me walk you through 3 rooms of this field, the shadow, and you'll recognize all of them from the chapter Sovereign Descent. I'll describe the experience first and then give you the name for these rooms afterward, because the recognition matters more than the vocabulary. And within every field, there are specific rooms that will feel even more tuned to your frequency. The first room, remember the necklace at Gate 3? So it was Inanna putting down her symbols and ornamentation. The necklace at Gate 3 refers to the identity that you were born into and expected to carry without anyone ever asking whether you consented to the weight of it. If you are a firstborn daughter like me, or maybe you know one, the firstborn daughter identity holds the line, but didn't choose the line. She just found it already around her neck. So that room has a name in the map, and it is called the Borrowed Fate. The second room we'll walk into refers to the story of my great-great-grandmother, Christina Higginson Young. Remember Christina? Her story is that she went underground. She was orphaned and had lost both of her parents and left Scotland by stowing away on a ship among people speaking a language she didn't know. They were all Danish speakers, and she didn't speak the language, and she was able to cross the ocean without getting caught, even though she was a stowaway. And then when she arrived in the United States, she took a train but had no ticket and was able to stay under the radar of the conductor. So she really had the ability to reach where she was meant to be by going underground, which is a story that has arrived in me and has been waiting for completion too. The pulls and the griefs and the feelings in you that are difficult to trace to your own memories and your own history are the lineage, your ancestral lineage moving towards something and arriving finally in you. The name of that room is the Ancestral Underground. And the third room, the first silencing. This is how Sovereign Descent opened, as I experienced my childhood memories of being told that I was too much, too sharp, too loud, and slowly coming to believe that this meant something was simply wrong with me. So when a pattern has been with you so long that it feels like it's your personality, it usually means it hasn't been named yet. And the first true naming is its own kind of threshold. The room that we're in is literally the unnamed. So how do you actually know which field is the terrain that you're living in right now? Not just an idea on a page, but the ground that you're actually standing on. There are 4 signs, and they hold for any field, whatever your reading named, and I'm going to share those signs with you so that you can recognize that this terrain or this field is live for you. First of all, it keeps returning. The same theme shows up across different situations, or it's the same shape wearing different costumes. Maybe it's feeling like synchronicity or just a repeating pattern. The second thing is it carries a charge. There's some heat, some energy on it. That can be friction or longing or fear, or positively it could be fascination Live terrain is never neutral. If you feel nothing, that's just not where you're working right now. Third, it outsizes or outlasts the moment. The response that you're feeling is bigger than the thing that set it off, or it simply won't resolve no matter how carefully you handle it. And fourth, it's starting to become something you can name. Maybe you're just newly able to see it as a pattern instead of just how things are. Now let me show you what those 4 look like specifically in the shadow, since that's our example. The shadow is live when the thing you keep managing won't stay managed. When a reaction comes that's way too big for the small thing that set it off, because the size of what's in the shadow belongs to an older moment than this one. When a grief arrives and you can't name what you're grieving. And when "that's just how I am" stops feeling like the end of the sentence, but actually holds space for you to realize that it's more than just how you are. It's that moment that a pattern you'd taken as your personality starts to look like a pattern that came from somewhere, a pattern with a source. Whatever your field is, look for the version of this field in those same 4 signs. So take a moment and write into the first section of your worksheet, your working with your reading worksheet. Well, it's not gonna show up on the camera, but that's okay. It's that PDF that you'll be able to access. And in the first section of your worksheet, you're going to write your field, the question that it's asking you, and consider one place that it's showing up in your life this week. One of the ways that you've determined that this field or terrain is live for you right now. Now we come to the second movement and the second thing that your reading gives you. It's not just where you are in the terrain, it's how that terrain is reaching you, which channel you're actually built to receive on. In the map, we call that channel your register. So let me translate this plainly. A register is simply the channel a truth reaches you through. And as I describe these, see if you can feel into which one feels like home for you. There are 4 registers. You'll definitely know which one is yours when you hear it. The first one is story and image, or I also call this the mythic register. So for some of you, this is how truth arrives in pictures or myths or dreams. It's the way the story of Inanna at the gates lands in your body like a living voice before you even have time to analyze it. The second register is clear structure, or the conceptual register. So for some of you, truth arrives as a framework that you can name. You can give it a name, and there's definitely relief in being able to put words to things, especially accurate words, in maybe a diagram that suddenly fits. The third register is sensation, or the somatic register. So for some of you who feel and receive signal through this register, you know things in the body first, in the gut, in the chest. You might describe it as something you know in your bones before language catches up. And the fourth register is that which has not been named yet, or I also call this the unreceived register. It's a truth that you can feel that's pressing on you, but you often don't have words for it. It can feel like an ache or a knowing, but there's no vocabulary attached to it. So the mythic, the conceptual, the somatic, and the unreceived registers are how signal is received and transmitted in our experiences. Here's why this matters so much. Your reading leans toward one or two of these channels, and that's not a limitation, it's information. It's telling you where your signal is the loudest, and therefore where you'll actually be able to hear it. If you're someone who knows things in your body, but you keep trying to think your way to clarity, you've been listening on the wrong channel, and it's no wonder it's been so hard. So your signal map is showing you the strongest frequencies. The strongest frequencies in your reading is showing you what's loud in you right now. So let me make that concrete. If, say your signal map shows that the borrowed fate is the loudest signal for you right now. That's not a label. It's just pointing at the necklace that we just talked about. It's pointing to that weight that you've been carrying that started as someone else's. Read your map as the weather of the season. It's not a verdict about who you permanently are. And often, the frequencies that feel the loudest are exactly those ancestral threads that are seeking completion through you. So, take out your worksheet and put your channels into the second section. The channel that you most receive on, where you've maybe been listening on the wrong one, and then find your 2 strongest signals from the signal map. Now we reach the part most people skip. And I want to be honest with you, it's the part that actually does the work. So your reading ends with a contemplation and a journal prompt. And it's very tempting to treat those as a great way to wrap up, but they are not the wrap up. They are the doorway. If you think about the chapter Sovereign Descent, you already know this rhythm of reaching this moment, the moment in labor that is called transition. That is the moment that you experience the feeling of your inability to do this. That's the moment you say, literally, I can't do this, but it isn't the end. That's the crowning, that's the threshold, but it always feels like the place that you most want to leave. This is the part people find hardest to actually do. So let's make this concrete instead of mystical. Your reading gives you 2 things here that you'll find at the end. First, a contemplation, which is a question to sit with, and also a journal prompt. So this is an instruction to write from. We're going to take the prompt first because I think that's where most people freeze. Say your prompt is something like, write about a weight that you've carried so long you assumed it was yours. So you put that at the top of the page. And then the next thing is the only instruction that matters. Write the first true sentence, not the first tidy one, the first true sentence. And here's the difference, because this is actually the whole skill. A tidy sentence sounds like, I think I may have taken on some responsibility from my family. True, maybe, but it has no heat. It doesn't carry the real feeling, and nothing happens after it. So a true sentence sounds like, I'm the one everyone calls when it falls apart. I take care of everybody else before me, and I'm so tired I could lie down on the floor of my closet in the dark. You'll know the true one because it's specific. It's going to name a real moment that you've lived, and because it also costs you a little to write it down. It's the sentence you might be tempted to cross out, like, this is just too much. But write that one, and then keep going. Write another sentence and another. And the instant it starts to feel exposing, we refer to this as vulnerability in some situations. That feeling is not the stop sign. That's the threshold. Write one sentence past it. You're not trying to solve anything. You're not trying to wrap it up neatly or land on a conclusion. The whole task is just to say the truer thing than you meant to say. That's why on your worksheet, the line that really matters most in this section is the one that asks what you'd rather not write. That's almost always where the real signal is waiting. So use the prompt and write the first true sentence. And then the contemplation, you can come to that. Copy it down. It's just a question to sit with. You don't have to try to answer it quickly. Contemplation takes time. You should carry it with you for a few days and let it work on you. You don't have to do anything with it, but keep it close to your mind. And one promise from the chapter, because it really is the whole point of crossing this threshold, is that once you've truly seen the true answer to your prompt, to your question, you can't unsee it. And it's not a loss. It's the beginning of where you have choices. We're at the final movement, the 4th movement of our symphonic Sovereign Descent. We're at the return now. The part of the descent, we've made it through the going down into our underworld, into our underground. We've crossed the threshold, and now we come back up carrying something. I'm going to give you a practice that you can actually keep, and I'll show you where this door leads if you want to keep walking further with me. Here's the practice, and it's deliberately simple because I'm simple, and simple is what you'll actually do. Usually simple is everything that we need. So for the next 7 mornings, ask your reading one question. Something like, what is my field asking of me today? I want you to keep it the same question each morning. And think back to the chapter. Think back to the rhubarb. My mom told me not to harvest rhubarb the first year after I transplanted from my grandmother's garden into mine, because the roots need time to establish before they're ready to harvest. So your reading is the same kind of energy. A week of small returning attention is how you will put roots down in you through this reading and through the field and the question that you're asking. And this is how you go from holding a document in your hands to holding a living map that you can actually navigate by. So there's a place for this on the last page of your worksheet. It's the 4th section. You'll write down your one question, and each morning mark anything that comes to mind. Mark down each day for 7 days and ask that same question. You may remember how the chapter ends with an invitation. So whether you're drawn to, as I say, the heavens or to the earth, you find the map as you do the work. So let me name gently where the doors are. If you don't have a reading yet, this is the one the chapter was pointing you toward. This reading includes your own personal coordinates drawn from your astrological chart, your gene keys, and your answers. And you'll find it at christypaxtonwade.com/signals. If this work has stirred something in you that wants more, if you want more depth, or if you want to do this in a group, having the company of others who are walking the same descent with you, there are doors that take you further in. One of these is the lineage session, and in this we work one-on-one and research your ancestry together to find those patterns and frequencies that are present. The second option is a descent cohort. So this is a small group guided descent where we do ancestral lineage work and also journey in this map together using the signals readings. And the third is mirror work, which is another one-on-one form of working with me. But this is 3 months of sustained close attention to the terrain that you're walking right now, as well as ancestral reflection. And as I say, mirror, we are always looking into a mirror. So I'm here to guide you and help you understand what you're seeing in terms of the map that will then become your terrain and your freedom to walk. I'm not going to push any of them on you. The right doorway really also tends to make itself known. And as I say in the chapter, the right doorway will always appear. Before we close, let me walk you through your companion worksheet one more time, just so you'll know exactly how to use it. It's in 4 parts, and hopefully you've gone along as we've gone through this masterclass and you've completed it along the way. The 4 parts follow the 4 movements that we just moved through. The first is your field, the field that your reading named, and the question that it's asking you and where it showed up this week. The second part of your companion worksheet is your channel. That's the register that you most receive on, and your 2 strongest signals. The third part of your worksheet is your threshold, your contemplation copied out in your own hand, and then the first true sentence that you feel that your prompt pulls out of you. Remember, it's that truth that you'd rather not write. And the 4th one is your week. I know my view is slightly obscured for that 4th thing, but it's that one question that you'll ask each morning for 7 days. Don't save this for later. Best thing to do is fill it in as you go, and that's the thing that turns this masterclass from something you watched into something that you're actually walking and moving through. I'll leave you where the chapter leaves you, Sovereign Descent, with words from the chapter. The ancestors aren't behind you anymore. They're beside you. And the call, when it comes, will come dressed in the face of whoever is waiting for your coherence. A child, a sister, your own future self. Your descent isn't finished. It isn't supposed to be. And your reading is simply how you keep your coordinates while you walk it. So, receive it the way all new life arrives. Wet, warm, breathing, undeniably present. Now, deliver.